Do you want to get involved in the One Piece trading card game but don't know where to start? Do you feel unsure as to what you should be collecting and what cards might retain value in the future? All that and more will be answered on this beginner's guide to collecting the One Piece trading card game. But first, attention all One Piece fans. The Buds will be running a giveaway of an illustration box featuring the beautiful Nami and Boa Hancock promo cards for one lucky subscriber on the road to 1,000. To enter, all you need to do is like, comment, and subscribe, as well as be a resident of the United States. Anyways, guys, that's it for now, so back to the video. Hello there, my name is Nick, one of the co-members of the TCG Buds here. Excited to have you on this journey as we're going to go through a beginner's guide to collecting the One Piece trading card game. Just a quick overview of who I am and what my experience is. My friends and I, we started this channel all focused around trading card games. We all have a love for it. In particular around Pokemon and One Piece, however, we touch on a little bit of everything. The One Piece trading card game is something that I got into roughly a year ago and has really kind of taken over my life as a collector. Dom, who is another member of the TCG Buds, and I have actually both created videos showing off our collections, which I'll go ahead and I'll put up right here if you want to go ahead and click on those to see what our own personal collections are looking like. But one thing that I couldn't get over when I first started getting into the One Piece trading card game was what I should be collecting. In a sea of so many cool characters and so many alt arts, it can get really easy to be lost in all the smoke and mirrors in terms of what you should be collecting. So what I figured, and I wish I had when I first started collecting, was kind of a beginner's guide breaking down the different variants of the cards and how that applies to collectability, as well as also discussing what the hit rates are for those cards and basing it off of some logic and reasoning in relation to other card games like Pokemon to be able to determine what might be the best cards to start collecting for a beginner. All right, folks, after that introduction, let's go ahead and let's get right into it. We're going to start by first discussing card rarities and hit rates for those rarities. So in every box, you're going to be guaranteed at a minimum 2 alternate art cards. And the way that the 2 alternate art cards works is it's just a variation of a card that's already existing in that set. Now, those alternate art cards are guaranteed, again, out of 24 packs. So no matter what, out of a box, that's what you're going to get. Where there can be a little bit of a wrinkle sometimes is if you get a 3-hit box with an alt art leader, you are still technically getting an alternate art in that you're getting a leader card that is now an alternate art. And you also get a different card that is an alternate art. And you'll get a 3rd hit, which depends on the set, but is usually an SEC. I know this can be really, really confusing. It was super confusing for me at first in looking at overall hit rates for One Piece, but it's going to be really important in discussing where we're going to be going with this. Now, where the alternate art cards are really important and where they retain a lot of value is in the meta of playing the card game. I recently actually just got involved in playing the One Piece trading card game, and the main reason why I want to do that is because I wanted to be able to see what the meta cards look like in determining my collecting as well. And One Piece is constantly in a flux of variation in that new decks are always coming out. There's new cards always being changed and decks being modified. So the Bandai actually does a really good job in ensuring that the card game remains fresh.
If I speak, I am in big trouble.
Some other games don't really do that. It can get a little bit stagnant. So Bandai is actively trying to integrate new cards, different metas to constantly alter the game. And the reason why this is important is because from a collector standpoint, what retains value? So when you look at Pokemon, any illustration rare in Pokemon retains some value. Any special illustration rare typically retains a decent amount of value, right? It can vary. If you're going with Shrouded Fable, for example, the SIR in Shrouded Fable might not be nearly as much as an SIR in 151, for example. But it took me a really long time to be able to grasp how the different hits retain value in comparison to Pokemon, which is where I spent majority of my time collecting prior to One Piece. So the alternate art cards retain most of their value when it comes to the meta of the game. And again, you get guaranteed 2 of them per booster box at a minimum. Following that, you have something called SPs. And what SPs are is a much harder card to hit, and a case, so a case of One Piece contains 12 booster boxes. In that case, you are guaranteed only 2 SPs. So automatically, what Bandai is telling you is that these cards are way harder to pull, number one, and number two, a lot rarer to be able to get. The one thing that I will say about SPs that goes unsung is just how hard it is to pull those the specific SP that you're looking for. And the reason why I say that is because, for example, OP09. OP09 has 5 or 6 different SPs that you can pull, and out of your case, you only get 2. So that means the hit rates on the specific SP you're looking for are already a lot harder because there's only 2 per case, and there's 6 variants that you can get. So realistically, if you want one SP in particular, you're gonna have to buy 3 cases, because if you're looking to get one of 6. And again, you're not even guaranteed to get the one you're looking for. You can get a duplicate of one you already have. So SPs I've always viewed them as Bandai throwing up a flag saying, for collectors, for collectors. Now, I'm not going to say that SPs are only utilized by collectors and they should only be purchased by collectors. No, that's not what I'm saying at all. A lot of players utilize SP cards because, again, SPs are just a variant of a card that is in the set or that's in a previous set. So a lot of players, what they'll do is they'll buy the SPs and they'll add them into their decks just to have a flashy deck. Happens all the time. But I think it's Bandai's attempt to give the collectors a bone as to what we should be looking to throw in our collections. Now, after that, we're going to get into manga cards, and it gets a little bit more complicated in that Bandai just introduced recently manga event cards. So we'll start with manga event cards, and I just speak off of my own experience with this. Typically, any set that's had a manga event card, which started, I believe, with OP10, you're guaranteed one manga event card in your case. So automatically, what that does is it reduces the value and collectability, because if there's only one manga event card and everyone's guaranteed one per case, Bandai is going to be producing a lot of cases. There's going to be a lot of those cards in circulation. Now, in more recent sets, for example, OP11, Bandai had 3 different manga event cards, So having 3 different manga event cards is going to result in those potentially being able to go out more over time. Again, throwing in that SP variation, in that the manga event card that you might be looking for example, the Gear 2 Luffy, might just be harder to pull because it has a 1 in 3 variation per case. And again, as I mentioned when discussing the SPs, manga event cards are not something that are specifically designed for collectors by any means. These cards are based off event cards which are used to be played in the game. So a lot of players are purchasing these cards just to be able to use them. So some of that pricing for these cards is based off of the meta state and which cards are relevant to be played at that moment. Following that, we have manga cards. Now, manga cards have a variation in hit rate. On average, it's about 1 every 3 to 4 cases. So that means you have a 1 in 36 boost, or 1 in a 36 chance, if you buy a booster box, of hitting a manga card. As you can imagine, manga cards retain a lot of value because of how hard they are to hit. But the wrinkle about that is that the manga cards actually really vary in price depending on several factors, most notably, though, being the popularity of the character. So one of the running memes right now in the One Piece community is how many mangas Luffy currently has. I think he's around 5 or 6 now. 5 or 6 cards. So every set comes out, it almost looks like there's just a new Luffy that comes out, and it's becoming a running joke at this point. However, it makes sense, right? Luffy is the main character of the show that's been around for 25 years, an icon in anime. Bandai is going to be centering a lot of their focus, especially on the highest rarity, one of the highest rarity cards around that. There's a new tier that just got introduced, which I'll get into in a second. But since One Piece's inception as a card game, the manga was the hardest card to pull in a set. Again, 3.5 cases. So when you think about that from a collector standpoint, right? Typically, as a logical idea, right? The lower the population of a card, the harder it is to hit, the more collectability it's going to have in general. But again, I'll put a big asterisk there on the notion that I have seen on several occasions people utilizing manga cards to play the card game. They're just completely flashing out their deck, just throwing in thousands of dollars into it, and they run manga cards. Manga cards are still, in the eyes of the card game, it's just a regular card. It just got a cool variation of it. So there are some situations where a manga card can actually retain a little bit of higher value just because it's a meta card. But for the most part, I would say it's just solely based off the popularity of the character as well as the hit rate on the manga card just being hard itself. Now, following that with the introduction of OP11, there are these manga-esque, that's not what they're really called, but it's a different classification of a card. In OP11, they released the gold Buddha Luffy and the silver Luffy, which I think the estimated hit rate is about 1 in every 20 cases. Again, I think that's still unconfirmed just because who really has the capability of opening 20 cases. But as I'm sure you can imagine, a card with a hit rate of 1 in 20 cases is going to be running at a pretty high premium, and that is the case with these two cards in particular. Currently, the Buddha Luffy, I think, is running around $2,500, and the Silver Luffy is running around $1,500, so about 5x, almost 5x more than what the Luffy manga is in OP11, which is insane. But again, a lot of that is based on variation. Now, I will say, I've never seen anybody run the Buddha Luffy or the Silver Luffy in a deck. However, honestly, it wouldn't even surprise me. So I'm sure there's someone out there who's going to be flexing one of those cards off in their deck. But as a quick overview, that is how the rarities work and the hit rates work for the different variations of cards in the game. So following this, what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you guys a breakdown of what the pricing is looking like for these cards and how you should be looking to collect if you're unsure where you should be going to next. All right, so now that we've gone through the hit rates and the different variations of the cards, we're going to start getting more into the meat and potatoes, looking at the actual card values as I'll go through and explain my logic and reasoning for what I do when collecting different cards. So, first and foremost, I want to make this abundantly clear, the most important thing to collecting anything in any hobby is to collect what you like. If you like Tony Chopper, get every Tony Chopper card out there. If you like Usopp, get every Usopp card. If you like Douglas Bullet, although there only might be a few of them, get every Douglas Bullet card that you want added to your collection, guys. Be sure to do what brings you happiness first and foremost. I'm just going to explain my reasoning and my logic for what I like to collect, and in hopes of being able to pass that knowledge on to other people who might not know where to start. And that was where I was at when I first started collecting. I remember when Dom and I used to do a lot of box openings when I first got into the card game. I was collecting every single hit that I got, whether it was an alt art, it could be a $5 alt art, it could be a $100 SP. I was collecting every single card, and the reason why was because I didn't know what I should be looking out for. So now that I was able to get some experience, I was able to tailor my own collecting, I don't want to say strategy, but my own preferences. I was able to deduce what I like to do and what I think is probably a good idea when it comes to collecting. So I just want to be able to provide that information to people. Moving on from that, I'm going to go through the 6 most recent sets and explain why the card values are what they are and what the likelihood is that they're going to go up or down over time. So we're going to be starting off here with OP08. Now I'm just going to scroll through some of the cards, and you're going to see here, again, a variety of pricing. And that's the one thing also that I want to touch base on, is that I'm not making this saying that you should only be buying mangas that cost several $100s. You should be buying what you can afford, of course, and what you enjoy collecting. But if you see a card that might be a somewhat cheaper card and you're like, hey, this is cool and it might have a better collectability more than other cards, I'm hoping to give some guidance for that. So we're going to get into this right away with OP08. So OP08 is a set that not a lot of people like, It's one of the cheaper sets, and one of the main reasons for that is just because there isn't a lot of popular characters in this set. So, for example, the Silver's Rayleigh, which is one of the cheapest, if not the cheapest manga card, and an absolute steal, I think, at $275, it's that price because Rayleigh is just not popular, is just not nearly as popular as, say, Luffy or Zoro or Nami, right? Now, again, this Rayleigh card, however, is been very, very meta for a long time. I know it's kind of trickling away a little bit, and that's why the Rayleigh pricing has gone down a bit. But again, you have a manga card that at $275 is a pretty good price if you're, if you have that capital and you're like, hey, I really want to buy my first manga. Where should I start? I think the Rayleigh is a decent buy. In terms of likelihood it's going to go up over time, it's not going to have a tremendous amount of growth. But again, it's a manga card, really hard to hit, likely to be able to retain a decent amount of value and go up a smidge over time. Now, following that, you have the different SP cards. And again, for this in particular, a lot of the basis for the value of the SP card comes from the playability of the card in the meta. OP08 as it sits is a really good meta set, in that a lot of these cards have been relevant in the meta. So you have the Bonnie at $113, and then following that, you have the Ace at $70. So this Ace card is a super, super cool card. Ace is a popular character. It is going for, let's throw it on near mint. It's going for market price at $70. Now, the other thing that's really important to consider that isn't the case in Pokemon is that a lot of people, when they're selling One Piece, are very negotiable on price. So, for example, if someone pulls his Ace card and they're looking just to sell it, most people will accept an 85% TCG player pricing. That's kind of the standard. So anytime I'm buying cards and I'm looking out there in the marketplace to see what's there, I've really never had an issue when it comes to negotiating. Modernly, when it comes to Pokemon, good luck. There's many times where I've tried to negotiate on card pricing with people and they will not budge at all. So with One Piece, there's a little bit of flexibility there, which is great. It's helpful. Every dollar counts in collecting, right? But again, Ace is a popular character. You could probably get this card for 85% TCG player, so right around $60. Do I think this card is going to go to the moon by any chance? No, but if you're interested in collecting Ace cards and you have a budget of $60, I think this is actually a really good buy. Is it going to go up tremendously over time? Probably not. But again, as a base starting point, it's a safe purchase to just get a collection going. Also, SP cards in general just have really, really cool art. So like that Ace art, super cool. So now we're going to go down as we get past all the SPs, right? I'm not going to go through every single card. I'm just going to note on some stuff in particular. So we have the Tony Chopper Alt Art Leader here sitting at $42. Looks like lowest listed is $32. Alt Art Leader cards typically solely depend on the current state of the meta. So I actually collected Alt Art Leader cards for a while until I was able to realize that the retained value came from the playability of the card. And at that point, that's when I transitioned my focus into being more on SPs, mangas, and promo cards, which we'll touch on promo cards at the very end just because there's a pretty big discussion to be had on several different of those cards. So, for example, the Chopper here, sitting at $42 market price, likely the case because it's a meta card. Following that, we're going to go, you see the pudding here at $29, and we have the Rayleigh at $24. This is the alternate art SEC Rayleigh card, so that's sitting at $24. And again, the retained value of this card is solely based off of the meta. So the alternate art Rayleigh hit rate for the SEC, I think there's one per case guaranteed, so it's guaranteed case hit rate. Anyone who buys a case is going to be able to get this card. So it's sitting at $24, likely due to it only being a meta card. But scrolling down even more, right? So say you're just looking for anything. You're looking for just a cheap SP to get involved in the game. We have the Gecko Moria here sitting at $21. So if you're just like, hey, I got 20 bucks in my pocket, I'm looking to buy an SP just because I want to start collecting, we have Gecko Moria here at $20. This card is a little bit complicated in that the price has dropped substantially, as you can see. And the reason for that is just because this card has been banned from competitive play. So Gecko Moria was a really, really good card in the meta for a long time and got banned. After the ban came in, the card pricing just started to tank gradually over time. But again, if you're just looking for an SP to grab, you can get a Gecko Moria SP right now for $21. Again, 85% of that. Always should be shooting for that, guys. You can get a Gecko Moria card for around 15 bucks. Not bad. And again, SPs, there's a hit rate of an SP of 1 or 2 in every case. So 2 per 12 boxes. This set has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 SPs. So again, it makes the particular hit rate even harder. One thing to note though, Gecko Moria, not a very popular character in the anime right now. So again, it's all preference when you're collecting. So moving on from OP08, we're going to go to PRB01, which can be a little bit confusing. The PRB sets can be a little bit hard to track, and the reason why is, as you can see here, one, there's several mangas on the front, and then following that you have these cards called Gold Dawn cards. So these for PRB01, which came out just a little bit under a year ago, these cards, not this one, but every other manga, so the Luffy, Zoro, Chopper, Ace, Shanks, Sabo, and Kid, as well as Sogeking, all were reprints of every manga card that was in all the previous sets. So what Bandai did is they're like, okay, in celebration of all the sets that we've created, what we're going to do is we're going to create a God Pack, which is going to have a copy of every single manga in there. The manga in particular that is unique to PRB01 and that you can't find any other set is going to be this Nami manga. So one thing as a collector you really need to keep an eye out for if you want to make a large card purchase, be sure if it's a Zoro, for example, you verify whether or not it's the OP06 Zoro or the PRB01 Zoro. Bandai did not do a good job in telling people what they should be looking out for in order to differentiate between the two variations of the card. What I've seen is the only way you can tell is off of the texturing and the foil pattern on the card. On PRB01, it doesn't have the texturing and foil pattern, and actually I think TCG Player has a huge, they have a huge disclaimer about this now, where they tell you like, hey, this is how you can tell, because Bandai just didn't tell anybody. And there's actually examples of some of these cards passing PSA as an original when they were a reprint. So again, if you want to get involved in the PRB mangas, I think they're again another good buy point to get into manga collecting if that's something you're interested in. And the main reason why is because the cards are the exact same as the original copy. It's very hard to tell the difference. And again, manga cards, super hard hit rate, right? So although there was a reprint of these cards, PRB01 was so short printed that there's just not much in circulation, and the odds of someone getting a God Pack are so low that it's hard to think that some of these cards are not just going to keep on going up. So for example, the Zoro has been going up pretty substantially over the last couple of months in terms of price. So we'll go ahead and make sure it's on near mint. So the Zoro in the last 3 months went from 440 to 542, and this is a reprint, guys, a reprint of the OP06 manga. So again, a lot of what determines how much a card goes up is the popularity of the character. So this Zoro treatment is not going to be the same for Kid. So lowest listed on the Kid is 401. You can see that there has been a bump over time, but that bump looks to be around $20. Again, most recent sale of $370. The card doesn't move very much. The reason why the card doesn't move very much is because it's Kid. Kid's not very big in the anime right now. Not many people are buying the card. In comparison to the Zoro, though, very popular character. So the Nami card is, again, same hit rate as a normal manga. This is an original version, 1 in every 3 to 4 cases. The Nami manga has been going up pretty substantially over time, and it is a pretty safe buy if you want to get involved in purchasing mangas, but that's not why we're here. We're not just going to be discussing mangas only. So let's move on. We're going to discuss the Gold Dons. The Gold Dons and how the hit rate worked on these in this set is you were guaranteed 2 Gold Dons for every case. So it filled in the SP role. Where this gets unique is that Don cards are utilized to play the game. So what a Don card acts like an energy in Pokemon. It allows your character to be able to attack. It allows you to play characters. It acts as your energy in Pokemon. So these Gold Dawn cards were specifically created for the purpose of playing the game. However, they've kind of transformed a little bit in that they're becoming more of a collector's item just because of how hard it is to pull a Gold Dawn in particular. And as you'll see here, right, all you see is a sea of Gold Dawn cards. So I think Bandai released around 20 variations of the different gold Don cards for PRBO1 that you could get. So for example, if you want to get this gold Zoro Don card, which is currently, it's going for more than this, by the way. AJ and I just purchased Dom a birthday present a couple days ago, and this is what we ended up getting him. This card is going for most recent sale at $450, and I mean, look at this growth, guys. Started off at $363, and it's currently at $450. So it's gone up very, very heavily over time, and the main reason why is that these cards just aren't in existence. So I actually did some research on this card, and in a PSA 10, the population is 104, guys. 104. In comparison, which I'll throw up right now, the Sunbreon from Prismatic Evolutions has a pop of like 4,010. 4,000. And that card is worth almost $1,000 raw. This card is worth $450 as a raw card. PSA 10, it's sitting around $800. So these Gold Dawn cards are important to track. PRB02 is coming out soon, and Bandai just released their new slate of Gold Dawn. So if you're just getting into collecting and you're like, hey, what do I collect for this PRB02 set? Because what PRB itself is, it's a reprint of the best cards in the recent sets. And the reason why Bandai does this is because Bandai acknowledges that some of their cards aren't printed enough, and they're really expensive because they're important to the meta. So one of the main examples is this Laboon card. This Laboon card from PRB, or sorry, from I can't remember the set, but this Laboon card, very important. Laboon has just been announced to be reprinted in PRB02, so the Laboon prices have been going down. But these Gold Dawn cards are unique to the set. They're really hard to hit, and if one in particular that you're looking for, it's going to be super hard to hit because of how many variations there are, and you only get 2 per case. So if you're like, hey, I want to get involved in collecting something that I think is going to retain some good value, go up over time, these Gold Dons are a safe bet. Of course, guys, always keep an eye out for the Dons, for the characters that are the most popular, right? So that's why the Zoro Don, very, very, very popular character, and it's an expensive card. Uta, popular character, Gold Don, expensive. Yamato, Law, I could go on. Perona. So that's PRB01. Again, as an entry point, typically the harder the card is to get, the more value it retains and the likelihood that it'll retain more value over time and when you're looking to collect. Moving on for PRB01, we're going to my personal favorite set of all time, OP09. So OP09, we have the gold manga Goldie Roger sitting at $3,000. Then you have the Luffy, the Teach, the Shanks, the Buggy. This set in particular, the manga cards are really expensive just because of how many variations there are. So, right, there's 5 mangas. We do the same math that we've been discussing here, guys, in that the particular manga you're looking for. So if you're looking for the Buggy manga, for example, it's going to take, if you have a manga every 3 cases, it's going to take you 15 cases to get the Buggy. And that's not even guaranteed, right? Like, it's 3 to 4 cases. You could get a duplicate in there, but that's how much has to be ripped in order to get this card. But following that, we do have the SPs. Again, SPs sitting. They're actually dropping a little bit. They were peaking around, this Nami card in particular was peaking almost at $400 at one point. Sitting at $266. You have the Boa, the Zoro, and then following that, the Wanted posters, which fulfill one of the SP spots. So in a case of OP09, you're guaranteed 1 SP and then 1 Wanted poster. So the one thing I really like about the set is that it's all tailored around the 4 Emperors. The 4 Emperors are very important in the show currently, and therefore have a lot of collectability. This Buggy in particular, you're probably like, dude, why is Buggy worth that much money? This Buggy card is super meta. A lot of people have been playing this Buggy deck, so a lot of this Buggy pricing has been inflated from the current state of the meta. For example, this Buggy used to be going, I was able to pick up my Buggy for around $280. I picked it up at $280 and it's going for $526 right now, guys. Just booming in price. And that's an important thing to note, right? Is that, you know, if you're looking into collecting and you're just like, hey, I noticed this card that I have went up $300 in the last 3 months, you're going to want to do a meta check, guys. Go ahead and start Googling current meta decks. There's a good possibility that card is just in the meta, and it's probably a really good time for you to sell that and try to collect something else if that's something you're looking to do. So always looking at the marketplace and seeing what the meta is very important to collecting One Piece. But scrolling down, this set has some really, really cool regular alt art cards for dedicated again to the Yonko. So we have the Luffy alt art right here, sitting at $28. Again, a much cheaper buy point. We have the Zorojuro ST. This is going to be the treasure rare for this. So there's another rarity called treasure rares, typically guaranteed 1 per case. However, not every set has it, so I didn't feel the need to add it in. But you just see these cards and these variations, again, very good entry points for anyone who's looking to get involved in this, right? So Sanji, obviously a really popular character. Card sitting at $13 right now. It peaked around 40 just because Sanji was a very meta. This was a very meta card at one point, and it just gone down in value again as print has continued. But remember, guys, this Sanji is gonna be pretty widely available. So let's click on this Luffy, for example. This Luffy SEC. So typically you're guaranteed, was it 4 SECs in a case? So this Luffy, which is a pretty meta card, look at the volume, guys. 126 items sold on this. 126 items sold in 2 days. So very, very high volume selling card. And then in comparison to this, we're going to go to, let's just say, the Zorojuro SP. Zorojuro SP 1, 9, 2, 1, 4. Like, you could probably go through this entire list for the last 3 months and you're going to see the sales equivalent to that alt art. And that's just because of how few there are in the marketplace, because of how hard it is to pull the SP itself. So the collectability is just retained in the SPs, the mangas, and as we'll discuss later, the promo cards. So that's it for OP09. We're going to move on now to OP10. So we went from super hot set to now Bandai kind of putting the brakes on it, chilling out a little bit. So we have the Law manga sitting at $3.29. That's lowest listed. Again, you could probably get it for manga cards. I'd say I'd be okay with a 90% purchase price of manga cards. I've gotten them for 85 or even a little bit below in some situations, depending on the manga. But Law is a very popular character, right? So if you're like, hey, I really want to get into manga collecting, I'm looking for a good purchase price for like around $400. Your main options are going to be Law Kid from OP05, or a PRB manga, or you're going to be able to get the Rayleigh. I would probably say that the Law is a pretty good buy, or one of the reprints from PRB, or one of a more popular character, just because the popular characters are the ones that are likely going to be able to go up more over time than, say, a Rayleigh. But following that, we have the Usohachi SP, very meta card, sitting at $140. You have the New Gate at $92. And as you're seeing, guys, it's just a pattern, right? The SP cards and manga cards are the most expensive cards. However, again, like I said, I really want to note this, is that this is a much more affordable set. So if you're like, hey, I really want to buy an SP card, I got $30. You can get the Charlotte Flampe, you can get the Charlotte Pudding, which I love Charlotte Pudding as character. You can get the Charlotte Pudding SP right now for 85% of $27, guys. It's cheaper than a lot of Pokemon cards out in the market right now. So if you're looking for an introductory point to be able to do that, that's a good point. Now, as you're going to see here, this is what is going to be known as the manga rare. I touched on it in terms of the hit rate. This, of course, dedicated to the absolute Giga Chad scene with Shanks versus Kid, where Shanks shouts out his old captain and utilizes his move, Divine Departure. These manga event cards, I love them. I think they look super, super sick. And they're just super cool. Like, they're just straight from a manga panel. Again, a lot of the pricing, though, is going to fluctuate depending on how meta the card is, as well as what the hit rate. Hit rate on Divine Departure, I think, is guaranteed 1 per case, just because there's only a manga event card. There's only one manga event card. But again, if you want to get involved and you're like, hey man, that's a super cool card, manga event card, I think a manga event card has a decent ability to go up over time. Not something I'm particularly collecting unless it's from a super cool sequence like Divine Departure. But again, it's all about showing you guys where you can get into the marketplace, and showing you that a lot of these cards are really affordable and they have a decent amount of collectability. This Edward Newgate, for example, is a card I have in my personal collection, currently a PSA. Look at this. I mean, it's just Whitebeard with his sons having a good time. It's a great card. The art in here is fantastic. And look at this thing. This thing is just absolutely tanked, right? Going in the future now, fast forward 10 years, there's a possibility, and I'd say a probably decent one, that this one could go up in value. And you can get it for an absolute steal right now at 85% of $98. So again, a lot of this is just a matter of perspective and us trying to predict what the future looks like and trying to get the most bang for our buck. So moving on from OP10 10, we're going to another complex set in EBO2. So EBO2 is another set that's dedicated mostly towards providing cards for playing the game. So what you're going to see here with all these leader cards is in this set, the leader cards, actually these alt art leader cards, excuse me, took the position of the SP. So in a case, you're guaranteed 2 alt art leaders. And again, the leader cards, as I mentioned, are alt art leaders. Alt art leaders are mostly for playing the game. If you have a character that you're a super big fan of, if you're a Boa Hancock collector, go ahead and buy this, add it to your collection. It's going to be a pretty safe buy over time. But if you're just looking to get involved in the card game and you're not unsure what you want to buy, I would probably avoid this set just because most, if not every card in this set is dedicated towards playing the game. So if you're not looking to play the game, you're just looking to collect, I would probably avoid EBO2. As you can see, it's kind of similar in the Gold Dawn situation from PRBO1, where you have just so many variants of these cards. So think about it, right, guys? You have like what, 25 alt art leaders here, and your guaranteed hit rate is 2 per case. You're ripping through a lot of product if you want to get the Boa Hancock. A lot of product. So I personally have just skipped collecting EBO2 just because, again, nothing here that I really want to play when it comes to the card game. The deck that I'm going to be playing, I'm hoping to, is going to be the Zoro from OP12. The card looks sick, but even here, like the manga Luffy, sitting at $1,000 market price. Lowest list is probably in Japanese. So I would actually recommend you guys stay away from EBO2 for collecting, for just getting involved in it. But again, if you want to be the #1 Yamato collector, like, everyone has their own preference, right, guys? So if you want to collect every Yamato card, go for it. Have fun. Following that, we're at the most modern set, OP11. And again, as I mentioned earlier, you're going to start off here. You have the Buddha Luffy as well as the Silver Luffy. Again, very expensive cards. However, given how hard the hit rate is for these, you're going to be able to see retained value over time. Not only that, I think there's a very good likelihood that these cards go up pretty substantially over time as collecting continues to grow and the game continues to grow. After that, we have the manga Luffy, Gear Force Snake Man, sitting at $396. This card has been tanking pretty heavily recently, and it's at, so it started off when the pre-release at $900. Now it's sitting at $400. An absolute steal of a manga, guys. I know you're probably rolling your eyes and like, dude, I have $400 to spend. Totally get it. But if you are looking to get a manga and it's in your budget, it's your first manga, I would go for the Gear Force Snake Man Luffy, just because it's Luffy. Honestly, the card art's super sick, and it's affordable. Like, this is all-time low right now for this card. So good possibility to be able to get one. I did pick up one myself. Got a grade at PSA. Currently, the card is sitting around a pop 90. So, it's pretty low pop, right? Anything under 100 or around 100, I'd say is pretty low pop. There's going to be more, of course. OP11 still printing, but I think it's a decent buy. Following that, you have the different SPs. These are some of my favorite SPs in the entire game. I mean, look at this art on the Luffy. Just look at this on this Luffy Taro. So sick. So sick. If you're like, hey, I really want to get an SP, I'm looking to get a cool card, we have the Silver's Rayleigh right here sitting at $43. Again, Rayleigh, not a very popular character. However, you can get a cool card, cool art. That's really hard to hit, actually. I was trying to find the Silver Rayleigh for a while because I just completed my set of SPs for OP11. And that was the one I couldn't find anywhere, guys. So I can tell you from personal experience, these SPs are very hard to find. Very hard to find, especially if you want a gradable copy. Like, I'm trying to get all of mine graded sequentially. And it took me probably about a month search to try to find this Rayleigh's card. But after that, we have the Alternate Luffy. This is the Alternate SEC, very meta card. That's likely why you're seeing the price of that. You also have the Alternate Katakuri, very meta card, likely why you're seeing the price of that. Again, if you're a Katakuri collector and you want to collect every Katakuri, go for it. If you're new into the hobby and you're unsure what you want to collect, I would probably avoid most alt arts, unless it's, again, a super cool card for a character that I was collecting. But I did skip the manga event cards. So for this set, there are 3 manga event cards, which means that you're going to have a little bit of an inflation in pricing, because the one in particular I'll be looking for, if you're looking for the Gear 2 Luffy, it's going to be harder to find in that you have a 1 in 3 chance per case. Although Dom and I did just recently open an OP11 case that had 2 manga event cards, so I don't know if that's the normal for this set or if we just got ridiculously lucky, but you might have a 2 in 3 chance of getting the one that you want if that's the case, which again, not impossible. There's probably going to be a fair amount of them on market. SPs are harder to hit, but if it's something you're interested in, go for it. So you can get this Gear 2 Luffy event card for most recent sale $40, and then you can probably get that for 85%. It's a good entry point if you want to start collecting that. But that is it for the sets. Next up, guys, we're going to get into the prize cards and the promo cards. We're going to discuss the collectability of that stuff. And then lastly, I'm just going to do a final review as well as discuss graded cards and the potential collectability of that. So stay tuned. All right, folks, moving on. So just to recap what we've gone over so far, we've gone over card rarities and hit rates. Following that, we went over a brief overview, and brief being the pun there. We went over a pretty extensive overview of the 6 most recent sets, looking at the different card pricing as well as the collectability of those cards and how the entry point might be there for a beginner. And now we're moving on to the next part, which is going to be looking over promo cards. So promo cards release in One Piece very frequently, which is great. I'm going to be showing you several cards at different price points. So if you want to get involved in collecting and you're like, hey, what's a good purchase I can do for around 20 bucks? I'm going to give you guys options here at every price point. So the reason why I like collecting promo cards is just because of the rarity of the card. Now, don't get me wrong, the cheaper the card, typically the more widely produced the card was. However, still, when you think about in comparison to, say, an alt art that might be in a set of OP09, that alt art OP09, which might be going around the same price of this promo card, is gonna be way more widely produced and going into long-term collectability and value. I think anytime you have a promo card, just looking at Pokemon, for example, the promo card has a greater chance to go up in value over time versus a regular alt art card. So we're going to start off right here. We have the Luffy 2nd Anniversary Tournament promo card. This is a card I actually have in my personal collection. It's a super clean card. It's sitting, guys, at $17. $17. So if you have 20 bucks and you're like, hey man, I'm looking what might be a good pickup for me, if you can find this card, I think it's a good pickup. I was able to find one in person. I've been to several card shops and they did not have this card. Again, we're looking at TCG Player right now. You could probably pick up a clean copy off of there, but 17 bucks, guys. 17 bucks for a very popular character. Not only that, a promotional card of that popular character. It's really hard to complain about that. Really hard to complain about that. For the 2nd Anniversary Tournament, there's actually 2 other promo cards as well. There's the Ace and the Sabo, so dedicated to the 3 brothers. Again, very popular characters, guys. Like this is a $17 card that has a good possibility of going up more over time. So following that, we have some of the One Piece Day cards. So at One Piece Day Dallas this year, Bandai released some promo cards at that event that you can only get at that event. So we have the Utadon, we have the Luffy One Piece Day card, and the Zoro One Piece Day card. Again, this is going to be sitting anywhere between $50 to $100 on these cards. And they're promo cards, guys. There was a limited release. They only had it at One Piece Day. You're not going to see these cards again. The Bandai, I think there's a very high likelihood they're not going to reprint these cards. And right now, it might be a pretty good time to buy. So for this Zoro, for example, it's kind of fluctuated. Came out. Make sure I'm on near mint. Yep, near mint. Came out, went up a little bit, dropped a little bit, peaked, then dropped again, and is now going back up. And it's based on the rarity of the card and popularity of the character. Zoro, very popular character. The card only released at One Piece Day. Recipe for a good card to collect for the future. After that, we're going to be moving on to something around the $200 price point is where I want to see for promo cards. And what I like that just came out recently is going to be the 2nd Anniversary set, which I'll have an image up right here. So looking at the 2nd Anniversary set, you have, sorry, I'll put that one up here. This is off of Bandai's website. You have a playmat that comes in the Anniversary set with dedicated to the 4 Yonko. You have the Dawn cards, which are actually very expensive by themselves. They give you a whole pack of 10 Don cards in there. So the 10 Dons is enough to play the game because you need a minimum of, you need to have 10 Dons to play the game, excuse me. And then you have 8 cards, 4 of which are alt art leaders, 4 of which are alt arts, which are dedicated to the Yonko. Now, I know what you're going to say. You're going to say, Nick, you just spent 45 minutes rambling on why I shouldn't buy an alt art leader or an alt art card, right? However, asterisk there, these are promo cards, guys. These are cards that are not going to be available after this promotional period for this product itself. So, although, for example, and Bandai does this all the time, right? So, the alt art leader cards are all variations of the OP09 alt art, or variations of the OP09 leader cards. So, although they're just adding a new variation of there, these are promotional cards which were very hard to get, and thus are going to likely have a good retained value over time. And again, this box sealed is going for $280. These cards individually you could probably get for somewhere around $100 at most for one of these cards. So they vary in price, probably between $30 and $100. But again, a pretty solid pickup, some really cool promotional cards that I think have a good possibility of going up if you're looking to start your collection. Following that, the talk of the town for those big spenders out there, we have the Dodgers Luffy promo. I'll go and I'll show the Dortmund one after this one as well, which is more affordable, and I'll get into why it's more affordable. This Luffy card in collaboration with the Dodgers. Some people have been saying this is the most important card in the card game, and honestly, I don't think they're wrong. The reason why this card is so iconic and why I think it has a very, very high likelihood of going up even more than it is already at $535 over time is for several factors. Most notably is that you have Luffy on a card with a worldwide brand. Not only that, with the arguably best Japanese player to ever play in Shohei Ohtani. So you have a very popular brand and a collaborating with a very popular sports team, collaborating with the clout and fame of the best Japanese player ever. It's going to be a perfect storm. Not only that, guys, to add into this card is only the second card that's ever been hand-drawn for the trading card game by Oda himself. So the only other card is the Oda signature card, which I'll go and I'll put it on the screen right here. And the Oda signature card raw is sitting around $1,500 to $2,000. So out of every card I've shown you today and every card in the entire trading card game, this is the second one that Oda himself has drawn. Is just a, like I said, a perfect storm in terms of collectability over the long term. I highly recommend it at some point, if you can get a copy of this card, get a copy of this card. I totally forgot to mention the limited release of this. This card was only released for one game to 40,000 fans. I was able to go to the game. Very lucky, very blessed for that. That card's gonna be with me forever. But you know, being there, the amount of scalping going on, I mean, I heard stories about people not even being able to get a copy who showed up there. I don't even know if there was 40,000 copies there. 40,000 might seem like a lot, but again, when you consider all the other factors, this card is the perfect storm for collecting. So if you can get a copy, great. If you can't, totally understand. I'm not going to sit here and say you need to sell your entire collection to get this or liquidate part of your 401k. Definitely not going to do that. Moving on, though, we're going to be going into definitely the upper echelon of cards. We're going into the winners cards as well as the championship cards. So for me personally, I would love to be able to own one of these cards at one point. And this doesn't even get to some of the other variants, by the way, guys. This is kind of just touching the bare minimum, what a lot of these championship cards go for. So, for example, the last World Championship card, there was speculation that it went for roughly $1 million, and that's the World Championship card. So the way championship cards works, very similar to Pokemon. You get it for winning events with the card game. So some of these cards have variations that are serialized as well, which might be serialized up to 25. Those retain a very, very hefty premium, given that there's just not many of them, right? 25 copies. I mean, holy smokes, guys, right? I'm over here talking about Pop 104 and a PSA 10. Imagine there's only 25 cards in existence, right? Of one card in particular. It's going to retain a lot of value. So right here you have the Rebecca Championship card, the online championship card, $1,800. Market price lowest listed at $3,000. Luffy event pack, the 1945 right now it's looking like. And I mean, the list just goes on and on. Right now you have the Luffy pre-release winner card sitting at 1170. Pretty much the sky's the limit with this, but again, if you have the income, I certainly don't. I think buying a winner's card, especially of a popular character like Luffy, you're gonna have retained value over time. It's gonna be a good purchase, good card to hold on to in the future. Okay, guys, that's all I have for the promo cards. Lastly, we're going to discuss some slabs, and then we're going to do a final wrap-up, so stay tuned. Hey, everybody. As I was editing the video, I realized I forgot to go over the Dortmund Luffy promo card, which I think is really, really important to do a compare and contrast versus the Dodger Luffy card. So I'm just going to briefly touch on this real quick. So as I just said about the Dodger Luffy card, perfect storm when it comes to collectability, given it's the Dodgers, which is a huge sports organization. Baseball in Japan is huge. Shohei Ohtani, one of the best Japanese players ever to play, is on the Dodgers. And it's second hand-drawn card ever by Oda. The Dortmund card, while it is a cool card, Dortmund obviously is a popular team with a worldwide presence. Soccer is the biggest sport in the world. However, there's a few reasons for why this card isn't doing the same thing that the Dodgers promo Luffy is, and I just want to touch on that. So this card is currently sitting at 209 near mint right now, include shipping. So after tax, you're looking about 220, 230. Meanwhile, the Dodgers Luffy is sitting around $550, over 2x. And the reason why I think that is there's several factors. Most notably is that this Luffy card was actually released over a month-long time period. So the way that the release worked at Dortmund was they had the Luffy promo card here that you could go pick up at any game over a month period of time, any home game. Meanwhile, for the Dodgers card, there was a limited quantity that was only released at one game. So automatically, way more supply of the Dortmund card versus Luffy card. Another contrast, of course, is that this card wasn't hand-drawn by Oda like the Dodgers promo card. And lastly, there isn't a huge Japanese following of this team versus for the Dodgers, given the impact of Shohei Ohtani on baseball and on Japanese culture. So the perfect storm that was there for the Dodgers Luffy card just isn't here for the Dortmund card. I still think long-term it's a good buy, and it's a very safe buy. These cards are very limited. They're likely to still go up in value over time. Highly recommend picking one up if you don't have one, but that's it, guys. So now we're going to send you to the next part of the video. Moving right along, we're going to the last part of the video before we do a wrap-up, and that's going to be discussing slabbed cards. So there's a pretty big taboo, I would say, in the One Piece community about getting cards graded, and it's based on several factors, some of it being that a lot of the cards don't have collectability, which I think it's pretty accurate, hence the reason I'm making this video. And number two, because Bandai's manufacturing is so good on these cards that they're just going to get guaranteed 10. There's no increased cost in getting your card graded, right? Like there's this facade that your card doesn't go up in value if you get it graded, just because Bandai's manufacturing is so good. PSA is giving everyone a 10. There's not a discrepancy like there is in Pokemon, where in Pokemon getting a 10 is very hard because a lot of the cards are just not manufactured well. I'm here to break those taboos and to tell you that yes, feel free to send your cards to PSA, especially if they're ones that retain a lot of value. As I'm going to show you right now, there is definitely a premium that comes with getting your cards graded, as well as collecting slabs in general, right? So starting off, we're going to have the Luffy promo that I showed in the last segment. We're looking at the second anniversary tournament promo card. One, you can buy right now on TCG Player for after tax. You're looking at about $20. $20 for this card. Going over to eBay to look at the last sold on this card, $100, guys, $100. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say that this card is going to be moving super quick. It's kind of a niche card. It's not going to be the easiest card to move, as we'll get to different cards which are going to be easier to move. But I mean, just look at this, right? You have a card that is 5x in value. Now we're going to discuss grading fees. Grading fees are going to be $20 in the card, $20, $25. So we'll just say $25 hypothetically, right? So you're into the card for $45. You wait 4 months, and the card is now worth $100. You've over 2x the value of the card just by sending it to PSA. When you add in the fact that people are correct and that a lot of the One Piece cards do have really, really good manufacturing, I, knock on wood, have never had a card not get a 10 that I sent in. But guys, you're 2xing the value of the card that is pretty much a guaranteed 10 just by submitting it in and waiting a couple months. Like, I don't know where this idea is and this hatred towards getting One Piece cards graded. I think it's a really, really good idea, and I think the market is there for it, to be honest with you. Again, it's not going to be nearly there like it is as Pokemon, but as more collectors get involved in One Piece, there's going to be more collectability of this. People love graded cards. They're going to want these cards slapped. So I recommend it. If you have the spare cash and you are okay waiting the time frame, I get it done. Again, though, I'm not saying that your card is going to get guaranteed a 10 just because the manufacturing is better. Always, always, always look over your cards. I notice in particular, especially with more modern One Piece cards, so like OP11, a lot of the manufacturing is starting to slip. And I actually have had to be very particular in the cards I'm buying. I will not buy a card that's One Piece base right now unless I can see it in person, just because the manufacturing has been hit or miss by Bandai. So keep that in mind, but a lot of these older cards, again, though, safer bet. After that, we're going to go with the Zoro Juro SP from OP09, a card that you can buy on TCG Player right now for $158. You add in tax, shipping, you're sitting at about $170 on the card. Now we're going to look at the PSA 10 version. We had a recent sale a couple weeks ago at $285, guys, $285. So you're in for the card for $200 after grading fees and getting the card purchased, and your card is now worth $285. That doesn't even incorporate the fact that there's a possibility your card goes up even more over time. Zoro, a very, very popular character. There's a chance this card goes up more over time, over that 4-month wait, and you just made $85 in value, guys. It's like I said, I understand that people hate the wait, people are against the idea of getting their cards graded, but it's like, come on, guys. Like, it doesn't make sense to have this fake idea going around the community that getting your cards graded in One Piece doesn't make sense, because it does. And lastly, we're going to look at the Manga Luffy from OP11. The card is going for, right now, $380. You're gonna have to get it graded. Again, $380 falls underneath the basic service by PSA, so you can pay $25 and get this card graded. You're gonna have to wait a decent amount of time. You're gonna be in for the card after tax, shipping, everything around $450. You're gonna be in for the card for $450. This card is selling, just sold 4 days ago for $951, guys. I'm gonna say that's likely a little bit inflated just because the card is so new. Not many people have gotten them back yet. There's not a lot in circulation. I think this card could probably sit easily around $800, but still, $800 from $450, you've nearly doubled your money. Nearly doubled your money just by purchasing the card, paying $25, and waiting 4 months. From a collector standpoint, if you're not in any rush, you're not running a business, and you're just looking to collect and build a collection that's worth a decent value, that is a no-brainer to me. Absolutely no-brainer. The one thing about anime cards I will say is there's this obsession with Beckett. I will never send a card to Beckett, and the reason why is the reason everyone has an obsession with it is because everyone dreams of getting a black label. A black label is the hardest thing to get from any grading service, and what a black label is it's Beckett saying your card is perfect. There's not a single flaw with it. Everything about your card is perfect, which doesn't exist. The service doesn't exist for PSA, for example. So a PSA 10, which is a gem mint card, is not going to be the same level of a Beckett black label. So if you crack a PSA 10 and you send it to Beckett, you're not going to get a black label. You're definitely not going to get one guaranteed. There's a very high likelihood you just don't get one at all. So an example I like to give is that the Dodger Luffy, there's been roughly, I think Beckett has 150 of them that have been graded at a BGS 10. Not one of them has come back as a black label. The Mario Pikachu, which I'll put up on the screen right now, this Mario Pikachu is worth about $11,000 in a PSA 10. In Beckett, for a black label, there are 0 of them in circulation. 0. It is very hard to get a black label, and you're paying a whole bunch of money to get your card graded by them. Just send it to PSA, guys. Send it to PSA. I mean, the odds of you getting a black label, it feels like a coin flip. Like, you can look at a card, it looks perfectly. These guys are using a magnifying glass to do all this stuff. It's very hard. It's very hard to be able to differentiate that. So that's it for the slab product. Slabs are a really good thing that I think people are underestimating right now. So if you're a beginner to collecting, and you're just like, hey, I got these cards, should I send them to PSA? I think it's worth a shot, especially if it's something we discussed previously, which is it a promo card? Is it an SP? Is it a manga? Of course, guys, always verify on eBay. Look at last sold. I don't want you guys sending a card that's worth $80. Like, for example, that Gecko Moria SP. I don't want you guys sending that Gecko Moria SP to get graded because it's not going to have the retained value that, say, the Zoro SP would, right? So be careful, be caution about that, and always double check comps on eBay. But we're going to do a final wrap up here, and then that is going to be it for me, guys. Wrapping it up, thank you all for being here so much, guys. Really appreciate you spending your time with me today. I know it was a little bit of a longer video than what we usually make, but again, I really wanted to kind of make an all-inclusive beginner's guide for people to get involved in the One Piece trading card game. This is a game with a lot of potential, something that I have grown very fond of, and I'm really passionate about it and having that in my collection. I think my One Piece collection has actually surpassed my Pokemon collection at this point, just because of how hot Pokemon has been. I've been looking at alternative avenues for collecting, and One Piece has been there as kind of my saving grace. So if you are on the fence, you don't know if you want to get involved with it, I highly recommend you guys do. Of course, do your research, look more into it. If you're a fan of the show, it's an easy transition for you. The show is getting into a peak point right now if you're following the manga. So One Piece is just at an all-time high in terms of a brand. But again, thank you so much for being here. In conclusion, guys, no matter what you buy, always collect what you like. If you're looking for something that is going to be a safe bet in purchasing over time, that might have a possibility of growing, a safest bet I think are SPs, mangas, and promo cards, which, as I've shown you here today, can vary in price from $10 all the way up to $5,000. So you really have your assortment and variety of cards that you can collect, and I urge you to do your own research and being able to come to your own conclusion. But that is it for me, guys. Let me know your thoughts. Do you think I'm completely full of it? Do you think I have some good points? Are you going to start collecting because of this video? That'd be really cool. If you tell me, go and write in the comments, guys, if you're going to start collecting, or if this answered any questions that you had and assisted you at all. I'm hoping to do more of these videos, more tailor-made as the market continues to shift and transition over time. They won't be nearly as long as this one. Again, I really want to make sure that I did it like a all-inclusive beginner's guide to One Piece in a way that I would have wanted to be able to research and find when I first started collecting. But anyways, guys, this has been Nick from TCG Buds. Please like, comment, and subscribe. We have plenty of content coming out, again, based on all trading card games. Really appreciate you guys watching. I hope you have a great day wherever you are, and I'll catch y'all on the next one.